Hey everyone, Lynz Piper-Loomis here, host of I Am Silent No More. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. So, I have a special guest today. We have finally a worthy opponent that is running against Lady G, or AKA Lindsey Graham. And maybe I shouldn't have said Lady G, but I'm really stoked to support this candidate, Mark Lynch. So, welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we just saw each other not too long ago and we spoke even today, but I really wanted people to get a chance to hear from you out here in South Carolina and spread the word. So, if you just want to start out by telling us, who you are and why you're running.
Okay. Well, hey everybody. I'm Mark Lynch, and I am running for the to take over the United States Senate position in the state of South Carolina and remove Lindsey. It's all about promises made and promises kept, right? And so we want to help Lindsey keep his promises that he made when he first ran for office, and his campaign theme was term limits. So we're here to help him keep that promise. But I'm originally from Greenville, South Carolina. I've lived there my whole life. We moved to Woodruff recently, a few years ago. Our family business is there of 73 years. My father started back in 1951. Some of y'all have been there and purchased stuff from us. We appreciate it. It's called Jeff Lynch Appliance and TV Center in Greenville. We're an appliance, TV, furniture, bedding superstore. I took the business over back in 1985 and bought it from my dad. And since then, in the last 40 years of my leadership, we've grown from 5 employees to 110. Uh, our business is now operating out of 132,000 square feet. When I started, it was 3,200. We're debt free personally and corporately, and have been since 1999. How did I get into this? I met a guy in 2014 that was the head of our national security in the country, a former Marine captain of 15 years, and later he became the head of the anti-terrorism division of the FBI. And hosting an event for him at our chapel in our store, I got to know him really well and believed in what he was doing. And later, I was asked to be the chairman of the board of their organization. Knowing that information about the communist threat and the infiltration we've had all the way up into the White House and back down, we're down to the last leg of safety in our country in our pastors and local sheriffs. And having had that information and giving training to our local SLED and police and law enforcement people in our communities, citizens in our communities asked me to run for a state Senate seat. I did that in 2020. My election was stolen that year, but we almost won. We lost by 5%. And since then, people have asked me to run again for office because they know that I'm serious about when I take on something, we'll put everything into it that we can when we believe in it. We have a passion for our country and our great state of South Carolina and for truth. And with our family, I have 2 children that they have awesome spouses, and everybody's saved. And we now have 4 grandchildren. So I do this for them, for the future of our country, for our great state, for our business, to protect the freedoms we've all enjoyed all these years that our forefathers fought for and bled for to give us this great nation. And I'm here to do it. And with the knowledge I have, with everything that's gone on in this country the last 10 years or more, I can't not run. I'm putting my name in the hat because I've been asked to run. Um, People know that I'm a true conservative leader. I've grown a business. I've got business common sense like President Trump. I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawyer. I know basic information about growing things and doing it correctly. And I'm not a guy that wavers and changes my mind and flip flops all over the place according to the wind like Lindsey does. And South Carolinians are ready for somebody that has integrity, that will fight with honesty and courage, who has a backbone, and that's me. And that's why I'm asked been asked to run, and I'm doing it. Our family, because we have been debt free since 1999, my wife and I have agreed, and my wife and I have been married 37 years. That's a little bit of something different about me compared to Lindsay. But we have prayed about this, and we're pushing $5 million of our own money into this campaign to seed it, to jumpstart it, and we're ready to do that and make a difference. So we're committed.
Amen. Man, you totally jumped to my next question, which was, I had just, found out not too long ago about the $5 million investment, and that's a huge investment of your own into this type of race.
Yeah,
So, and I personally believe you are the best one for the job, the caliber, your character, your relationship with Jesus. It's not just evident, it's clearly evident in the fruit that you have spoken about, but even just in conversations I've had with individuals across the state and even in some parts of the country, you've got a solid reputation. So I love that. One thing that really impressed me, which you weren't trying to impress, but one thing that really did impress me was that you were able to, communicate when you were here at our house for the get together. You communicated with, I think, almost every single person, and you guys stayed until every single person had an opportunity to speak with you and ask questions. Really appreciate that. That shows someone that is, about service and not self. um, what's a question that you get asked frequently or more often than anything else?
well, I think the most current, biggest question has been, uh, what do you do about Trump's endorsement of Lindsey Graham? You know, well, we all know that Trump's a sharp guy. We know he's a smart businessman. We know that he likes to win, and we know that he will do what it takes to change things and do what's right for our country. He's come through all kind of persecution, and been shot at, and been through lawfare situations, all these lies that have been made up against him, and he's still going to do the right thing and whatever it takes. So we feel like, Trump and good consultants have mentioned it too. And I know this about Trump, that when he endorsed Lindsey, I think is to help get out of Lindsey what he needs in a slim Senate majority in the White House. He needs that perfect bill. He's been fighting Lindsey this new year when he got into office to confirm Tulsi Gabbard and RFK and the pardoning of the J6ers and to get the beautiful tax cuts he wants. And so maybe he'll get that now with an endorsement. But you know what, Lindsey, that was a win-win situation, because all across America, we the people and the people of South Carolina all commented on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere that, sorry, that endorsement won't save Lindsey. South Carolinians are not going to be fooled again. We know that Lindsey moves to the right real fast in the campaign cycle. And Breitbart called us over a month ago now and asked our team what was going on in our campaign, because they'd never seen Lindsey move right this soon in a cycle. And we gave them the article about Podesta, and the Obama team. Obama's chief pollster Harstad is talking to Podesta in private emails about uh, Lindsey, and they were saying, now we have the greatest ally to the Democrat Party we've ever had in Lindsey Graham, because that's who he is. He's a traitor. He's not one of us, and he's not doing what he says ever, unless it's time to get elected again. We were in Pickens at our precinct reorganization event that Pickens County had, and I was asked to come and speak. They gave me about 10 minutes, and Kevin Bishop showed up. I've never met him in person, but he had wrote an article earlier that week that if Mark Lynch were to win the primary, we are guaranteed a Democrat in office in November. And I said, Kevin, I know you served the Lindsey Graham team for 27 years. We've had a Democrat there for 30 years, and we're all done with that. So, and so we're not going to, I'm not going to be the automatic seat to help get a Democrat in there. I'm the automatic seat to get y'all out, and that's over with. And so he was the first person, Lindsay, I've met since CPAC all over DC and across the state traveling. We're driving back today from Richland near Hilton Head, where we spoke just an hour and a half ago to a great group of people there. They're all done with Lindsay too, and they're so happy that we have somebody that's going to run that can do the job and get him removed. And they're on the same bandwagon.
Absolutely. It's funny that that's the usual talking point, isn't it? When someone says it's just a shoe-in for a Democrat. They said that when I ran for Congress, they say that for almost every seat. And I'm thinking, can you not come up with a better talking point or excuse than that? Because we are done with Lindsey Graham. We are so over him. I mean, it's insane. A couple of things that you pointed out was that there's a huge overwhelming support for you across this state, and it's not just grassroots. There's people popping up that normally would just stick with Lindsey Graham because it seems like it's a better option, but they've seen the direction this country has gone in just short amount. I mean, obviously a long time, but you know just looking at that whole Biden, I don't want to say era, but Biden disaster and where we are now. Another thing that you pointed out was that he's pretty much a Democrat for 30 years. One thing I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard this, and we may have to take just a quick break in a second for the ad break, but Annie Andrews is about to make an announcement. I don't think she's made an announcement yet. She ran on the Democrat ticket against Nancy Mace, and that woman is something else. Have you heard about this?
Just tidbits, but not a lot.
She was so supportive of gender affirming care for pediatrics, and thankfully our Freedom Caucus did a FOIA. South Carolina Freedom Caucus did a FOIA and was able to shut down the clinic at MUSC, the gender affirming clinic, but they're still referring, at least as of earlier this year, they were still referring people to certain physicians. So, I think you'll definitely win across that. When you run against someone like that, you'll definitely win, because our values are against the transhumanism, against the transgender agenda, and all of that. But we're going to take a real quick break. And when we come back, I kind of want to talk more about some of these specific issues he's been supporting and kind of where you land on some of those things.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Y'all, please go to mystore.com or mypillow.com and put in the code Lynz. All of the work that I'm doing is completely either out of my pocket or out of contributions that y'all send through my website, lynzpiper-loomis.com, or other avenues. And you've seen some of these investigations that I've been doing. So every dollar helps. When I did, exposing Harriet Holman and the election fraud, I had people sending in money that covered my gas. So thank you so much for being supportive of me here. Thank you to Annie, my producer, and Ex American News. Thank you so much for helping get this platform out there. So we're welcoming back Mark Lynch, who's running for Senate against Lindsey Graham, and we've got the best opportunity we've ever had to get this traitor out of his seat. So I just wanted to kind of touch on some of the issues that Lindsey Graham has supported. I personally know because I've heard you speak, but not everyone has. So I want to start off with the Ukraine. Where do you sit on the funding that we've had going to the Ukraine?
Well, that's not America first, is it? Lindsey's known as a warmonger, and when we looked at his campaign from 2016 on Vote Smart SC, he had over 100 million dollars coming to his campaign, and the majority of the biggest donors were PACs and organizations that got their employees to donate 20, 30, 35 million dollars or more. And it's all the companies that build military supplies, military equipment, and things like that, because he loves to keep wars going. Everybody knows he's for endless wars. We don't want to send our kids into battle, into combat with no purpose. We don't want to go to war unless it's been a constitutional decision to go. We have not won a war since World War II because the decisions to go haven't been made constitutionally. You know, if I'm in office, we're going to run things by the Constitution. Our framers knew how that needed to operate, but we don't need people profiting when our kids are dying and we're funding everything but America first. We're funding everything else. So we got to look at that. I know most of America is with us on this in our campaign. They're tired of all of that. I mean, that's one of his biggest um, titles is warmonger, probably more than Lady G. And we're tired of all the profits leaving our country that we've paid as taxpayers to our employees, like Lindsey Graham, who's wasting the money and abusing it with fraud. And there's money coming back to himself on all of this. And we've all seen the current USAID information that Doge, with Elon and Trump have pointed out, with 130 point something million dollars they're overseeing. How do we have a guy with a character like Lindsey Graham, this the head of our budget committee for DC to help run our country, and again in the Judiciary Committee where nobody's ever getting in trouble for anything? These guys have taken the keys and they're doing whatever they want to do, and they're not going to hold themselves accountable. So we're all tired of that. We need to get out of Ukraine and do what's right for our country.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, granted, I know constitutionally states' rights versus federal rights, but I think a lot of people would be interested to hear what you have to say about the COVID response, the vaccines, and some of these things that I think Lindsey Graham was so outspoken of in favor of these things. And so we saw, many of us reported to him, this is not what we support, whatever, but we saw a different response from him. So, what would be your stance with COVID, with the vaccines, and just how he responded to that?
Well, it's about medical freedom. If you want to get a vaccine, that's great. I don't. If you want to wear a mask, whoever, that's fine. I don't. But you can't make me wear a mask and you can't make me take a vaccine. Our children have had no vaccine since they were born. We just don't believe God makes our bodies, um, you know, in need of something. He's a better creator than that. And with all the bad information out there about vaccines, and if the majority of the people, the bosses of these political figures, don't want vaccines, and you're our employee, then we don't want them. We're not going to do that. During 2020, our own state, with McMaster's and everything that went on, we closed our state 33 consecutive 2-week periods illegally at a time. And third generational businesses are gone. But it was interesting back then that the abortion clinics could stay open, the liquor stores could stay open, the big, massive, big box chain stores could stay open, but churches had to close, and small independent businesses like ours had to close. But we didn't. We're essential because I have unalienable rights God gave me to work. If we don't work, we don't eat. There's no welfare in the Bible. We need to help poor people and disabled people. I get it, but you know what I mean. We don't need to be writing checks and getting people to slowly merge into socialism, which is communism for dummies, by paying them to stay home. There was multiple attacks on our country with COVID, and all that started happening. And I'm so thankful Trump's in office again. And he told his people, like I had to call a few of mine back then and tell them, listen, y'all took a job here at this bricks and mortar location. If you don't report back to work by this date, you don't work anymore. And we had about 3 or 4 of them that didn't. The rest of them came on back. But fear is not a reason not to come to work. But our majority of our people out there, again in South Carolina and all across the country, very quickly saw the real true shamdemic that this became. And it was just another method of taking over America, destroying everything about it, getting people to go home, and then we're created a ton more debt by paying people to stay home during the COVID epidemic and bailing businesses out, and we still hadn't even come close to paying all that back, what it cost us. So, you know, no, we need people in office with character that are not part of the problem. And again, you mentioned it, and I did too, Lindsay. That's treason at that point. If we're doing everything we can, where the motive is to hurt the country, put us further in debt, get us further down the road to socialism and communism than we've ever been before, and allowing these people to stay in office and never, ever do they have to pay for a consequence of it. Americans, South Carolinians, are tired of it, and they want justice. They want the rule of law to return.
Yeah, absolutely. And, another very controversial thing for Lindsey Graham has been his response to J6. We have a lot of J6ers that, and, people who fought like Tina Peters for exposing what happened during the elections. And then you have what's happened with the J6ers. And I know not all of them. There's a couple that are off the deep end that I've seen, and I'm not going to mention any names. Not going to go there. But by and large, the weaponization of government against those on January 6th was uncalled for, in my opinion. And what happened to Tina Peters, and why the reason, I have no idea why she's still even behind bars. But what would your response have been? How would your response would have been different from Lindsey Graham regarding J6? And I mean, he was very bold in some of the statements he made on that.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have it, and we show it when we speak. I'm not sure we had that loop when we came to your home at your meet and greet, but we have it in there now where Lindsey told everybody that day, shoot the J6ers, shoot them in the head, right? But I want everybody to remember why did that happen? When the election got stolen by basically the Democrat Party, which is the party of communism and terrorism today in our country, godless people that hate America, that hate God, what do we expect them to do? Our country got flipped on November 3rd of 2020, in my opinion, and the enemies of our nation took our country over. And back then, Mike Pence basically had the authority, but more importantly, his oath to protect against foreign or domestic enemies. And we let them keep the keys to the Capitol on the 20th, and Lindsey Graham was all for it. And so what would nations that are enemies of America do if they were running our country? What they would do is say, hey, you know what? All MAGA people today are now considered terrorists in this country. We lost control. And so they locked up our people and made an example. And showed them, hey, guess what? That's what you get. You come walking into our chambers while we're running this now. You don't have freedom of speech or the right to protest anymore. How dare you come up here and talk up against what we did? So they set us all up for a sting operation. We have all the proof. All the people that have helped create the documentaries like Dinesh D'Souza's Police State, I hope everybody will get a copy of that and watch it, because everybody we've interviewed around our area in the community in South Carolina that had gone to prison or were waiting their hearing to go to prison for 20 years because they walked into the building for 3 minutes. Our building, right? That's our offices where we let our employees work. We wanted to go up there and see what was going on and say, hey, we believe our elections were stolen, and they locked us up for it. Thank God Trump's back and he's pardoned these guys, and we've met a lot of them at CPAC, and we're holding more meetings with them. We're going to be doing some big veteran and J6 events in our communities across the state. We've got some hard hitting guys that are speaking up against it. They're all tired of it. The lawsuits have begun, and it's time to serve justice back to our people and go arrest the real enemies of our country. We're true American patriots, you and I and everybody watching probably, and all the friends we hang out with and the whole nation that voted for Trump. It's time to serve justice back to the real enemies of the true America. It's time to make Republicans Republican again. And if people aren't behaving right, I don't think we need to wait for an election cycle to end before we terminate them. We need to get them out before that.
Yeah, it's really sad. When I was at Mar-a-Lago a couple of 2 or 3 times ago, I met Jerry Perna and Matthew Perna's mom, or aunt, excuse me, aunt, and he committed suicide.
Mm.
And I would say that the blood of, him and some of these others that died, whether they committed suicide or they were murdered by the Capitol Police or whoever it was that was in uniform. But I would say that blood is partially on Lindsey Graham's hands. So we have to start holding these people accountable. I mean, Lindsey Graham should be arrested for the statement that I don't know if he should be arrested for the statement he made, because we do have, different things going on there. But the fact of how he operated and what he contributed to, at least he should not be in office anymore. At a minimum, there should be, an investigation into his funds and into what he's involved in behind the scenes. I think when people make that type of strong statement, that's scary.
Yeah.
But I knew what answer you would give, just because, we're from the same, the same cloth, so to speak. But another thing that a lot of people are asking about with regard to Lindsey Graham versus other individuals, how would you distinguish yourself different from South Carolina's, establishment Republicans? Because people look at South Carolina and they're like, that's a super majority state. And we're like, super majority state of Democrats, not really Republicans.
Right.
The grassroots is Republican, but the people in office, we have a lot of people that are not really Republican. So what are some other ways that you would distinguish yourself different from the super majority rhinos?
A real Republican is God-fearing. They put America first. That's all in the Republican creed that we kind of swear an oath to when we run for office and we're interviewed by the Republican Party. We're not people that are never Trumpers and then we love Trump when he gets in office. We're not people that are for abortion. In some states, Lindsey has voted on the bill, during his tenure, where people can perform an abortion up to the moment before birth, up to 9 months for the full term in 9 states. That's not somebody that's focused on life. That's somebody that's focused on, I hate to say it, but abortion's a nicer word than murder, we think, but it's not. When God creates a life, he doesn't want us to decide the end date, I don't think. And God, a loving God will not create a child ever that he wouldn't supply everything that child needs, from nurturing, being cuddled, kept warm, fed, sheltered. There's always a way if we trust. So there's always a better option on that. So again, I'm 100% pro-life. Lindsey was just endorsed by some partial life organizations like Citizens for Life and um, the Susan B. Anthony organization and another organization that Alexa Newman in our area in Spartanburg works at and supports. And I'm sorry, those are not real life organizations. My endorsement comes from Equal Protection South Carolina, and so they feel like I do, that life is created by God at conception, and we can't abort it. That's one big one. We've got to get that off of us. God's not going to bless our country or our state when we've murdered over 65 million humans. So it's not okay to murder another human being ever. That's a big difference. And as Republicans, we need to read through our creed again and the platform we say we stand on, and question our own individual beliefs in that system and decide, can we still sign on and say we are a Republican, that we are a free American, that we're different, that we have the right to work, and we believe in capitalism and all the things we believe in this great country. We've got to stand up to that. And if our people aren't, then you know what? Just be honest with yourselves and switch over to the Democrat Party and be that. It's
Yeah.
hard to operate when in almost every county we have the old establishment guard that has got us into this mess with the people they voted in, and they protect the incumbents. It's hard to change people out when our own party comes up against us. I'm asking the Republican Party out there, when I show you Lindsey's voting record, and every organization that puts all the voting things together and tabulates it, and when you look at how Lindsey's voting constitutionally, it's a 57% lifetime voting record according to the Constitution. He's failing. That's not a Republican that is sworn to support the Constitution of this country and the state, which almost mirrors our United States Constitution.
100%.
Four of those voting scorecard organizations, he's failing in all four: the Club for Growth, Heritage Action, and Conservative Review, and the Liberty Score. He's under 60 in every one of them, 43 in the Conservative Review. Lifetime score. So how is he a Republican even? I don't, for him to say that's a lie.
I was just going to say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
When we come back after the break, I would love to talk to you about closed primaries.
Okay, awesome.
Well, hello everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So make sure you go to lutfstudio.com, type in the code Lynz when you pick out one of those pieces. It's actually Annie, who is my producer. She's amazing. I've interviewed her before, former child bride from, I think it was Iran, it might be Iraq. I think it was Iran though. And Iran, sorry, she just corrected me. This was perfect. But she escaped with the help of her grandmother. And so any way that we can help give back to her, She took on this podcast, and she is the best producer ever. So, also, when you support her, you're also supporting me in my investigative efforts. So, thank you so much. God bless you. We're welcoming back Senate candidate for South Carolina, Mark Lynch, who I've had the pleasure of meeting. He is amazing, and he's taking a lot of questions today and giving us straight up the truth. I wanted to talk to you about closed primaries. I'm guessing because you don't support Lindsey Graham, because you're running against him, that you're probably supportive of closed primaries.
Yes, absolutely. I know a lot of people don't know that we even have open primaries in South Carolina. And so what does that mean? It means people that have just come across the border, terrorists, communists. Some of these people are getting their citizenship, especially with Lindsey, because he wants amnesty for all illegal aliens in our country. And so when we have our primaries for my election that's coming up in June of 2026, the primary is what determines who will be your single candidate to represent an office of a party that will go forward to the general election in November. The primary election is the most important one because if we don't get through that, we won't be in the general. We won't be listed on the ballot. But it's amazing to me that Republicans, so in our state, we have Governor McMaster and Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evatt and our Attorney General Alan Wilson and Tim Scott, the other U.S. Senator, and Lindsey Graham. I've never heard them say that they want to fight to close our primaries. They're okay with the other party coming over into our primary on primary election day to vote against us. I think they like that because they can't win without open primaries. But those Democrats that come in and vote on the primary elections can later vote for their party in the general election. That is just insane to me. We've had election fraud before we've ever considered again making sure we see driver's licenses or go to paper ballots or get rid of ESS and Dominion machines because they're voting against us in our own elections. So that's a third world country set up already. So how do we ever get these people out? And let's don't use the word rhinos anymore. Let's use traitors.
Hey, I love it. I know one thing when I was running, I came across, I met Mark Fincham and showed me his paper ballot. And so one of the things I said was, of course, close primaries, paper ballots, same day voting, make it a federal holiday, and clean the voter rolls, make them. I like paper rolls because as former State House Representative Adam Morgan found out that Social Security Administration, I think it was, don't quote me on that particular element. I could be wrong on that detail. But anyways, in the packet, there was a voter registration to immigrants. And, and people say, oh, well, they can't vote. But I know when we did our data research, I purchased all the state data. And there was, from the 2020 general election, there was over, I think we found out there was over 20,000 people ages 90 to 121 that voted in the general election. And that's nearly impossible because a lot of those people were above, 100 years old. And that there's not that many people that are above 100 years old in the country, let alone in South Carolina. So right. I love hearing what you're saying about, the election process, closed primaries. And a lot of people don't know that the Democrats will go vote in those Republican primaries to swing it so that they keep the old person in. So immigration, we have had a massive issue with that. We just, are learning about this Kilmar Garcia, MS-13, human trafficking dude that Bukele's allowed him out to do an interview with a Democrat, put him back in jail after that. What is your stance on immigration?
Or the invasion of our country.
Yep.
That's what it's been. Well, in my daily meditation Bible reading, one of my books, an author's talking about it in our personal lives, we're to have boundaries, right? Or
Right.
we become like countries, like nations without borders that are open for ruin and devastation. And that's what's been happening. Lindsey recently just sent out a direct mail piece about a month ago about he's so proud he's part of the Laken Riley Border Act that's going to get our borders closed. And I've told the press and everybody publicly I will pay for Lindsey Graham's ticket for he and I to fly to the Riley home. And I want to hear him tell their family at the doorstep about his stance on his new stance on closed borders all of a sudden because we're in a campaign cycle, and he's so proud to be a part of that. You know, when his nickname is Gramnesty, he's wanted amnesty for all illegal aliens. So that's just as low as it gets, in my opinion. I pray for him because that's just horrible that he would now turn his stance into something that he's all of a sudden for. And when a family, they're just one of the many hundreds of families who have children that have been raped and murdered by illegal aliens in this country. And now you're all for closing the border. That's just amazing. Boy, he can change his opinion, like that fast when he needs to. It's just crazy. But I hope we'll all see the truth in what's going on, and I hope we'll all stand up and do something about it. And I'm imploring all the churches in America to get together and stand. And it's
Mhm.
like Franklin Graham said before Trump's election: if until the name Jesus Christ is on a ballot, we're always going to be voting for the lesser of the two evils. We
Yeah.
we got Trump in there. We have a band-aid of time again. I know Trump would be happy to have me in the United States Senate for the great state of South Carolina, that to have another senator that'll actually vote alongside him without being endorsed or bought or whatever, to be forced to do the right thing. As a Republican sworn to an oath, I'm gonna keep my oath to that. I do what I say in life. I always have. That's why people in South Carolina have asked me to run and do the job because they know I'll do it. I'll hold the line. So
Amen.
yeah,
Amen.
we've got to stop this invasion now.
Amen. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. I do want people to be aware of where they can find you, your website, donations, any upcoming events that you may want to mention.
Yeah. So go to our webpage, Lynch for Senate. You can also see us on Twitter and Facebook and keep up with our events. We have an events tab on our website. We're starting to get full, but listen, we will come anywhere in the state. Um, my children are helping run the business. It's their turn. They're third generation in our 73-year-old business, and we're committed to this campaign. Like I say, we pushed our own money into it, and we're going to make this happen. God's endorsing us because we stand correctly with Him on how we make decisions every day. The real true Republicans out there endorse us because we're making decisions based off our Constitution, not on how much money did we receive or how will it affect my votes. I'm gonna vote the right way, and everybody not may not like that decision, but I've got to do the right thing. I've got to answer to God for my votes, and I'm not trying to run to the side of the Senate chambers on January 20th, where I think it'll be the most popular to get reelected again. And it's just kind of hard for me. I don't have friends. I don't hang out with people that tell me to go to hell, and then we go play golf together the next week. Politics is a rough sport, I guess, but the people we hang out with are true American first people. That's our campaign. We're fighting for America and for the great state of South Carolina. We want to bring back a true Republican that'll be the best United States senator that we've had in a while. Vote for me. Help us with our campaign. We'll be electing people across the state to be campaign chair people in your counties so we can head up a great door knocking team, sign positioning, and bringing meet and greets and helping our campaign in every way we can.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today. Everyone, please go to his website. Please follow him on X and on Facebook, and help this team out, because this really is an excellent candidate, excellent family, and they have the best campaign team I've seen ever. And I know a few of them already. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to support what we're doing here, go to lynzpiperloomis.com. We've had some issues with the domain lynz.co. Should be fixed soon, but if you need, you can go to lynzpiperloomis.com and subscribe to the newsletter and stay up to date with these podcasts. We're airing every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern live. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you plug yourself in, look in the mirror, and know that you are a solution to the problems that we face here in America, not the government. So until next time, God bless you and God bless America.